So heart disease is the number one killer of Americans. It's also one of the most expensive conditions in terms of healthcare costs. In 2016, we were spending $555 billion per year treating heart disease. On our current trajectory, by the year 2035, we will be spending $1.1 trillion per year. Now, to put that in perspective, if you remember the Great Recession in 2008, to bail out the entire U.S. economy, we threw $800 billion at the problem. So by 2035, we will eclipse that in terms of yearly spending on one disease, which is almost entirely preventable. 80% of heart disease need not exist. That is CDC data. It's also, lived by the Blue Zones communities. They have 80% less heart disease. And the biggest difference between them and us, it's what they eat. First of all, let's talk about how much we spend on food. We spend $1.7 trillion per year on food. To put that in context, we spend $4.1 trillion every year on healthcare. It's sort of amazing, right? We are spending all this money on the downstream effects of poor food. Remember, a large chunk of this is heart disease. Cheap food is actually very expensive when you look at it in the broad perspective. I read once a study where they looked at how much food is in a box of cereal. It's $3.50 you might spend for a box of cereal. How much is the food? It's actually 16 cents. That's how much the actual food costs in a $3.50 box of cereal. And if you take that 16 cents and you break it down further and you look at actually what we want to be eating, which is the whole grain, that costs 9 cents. There's no food in the food, so it's really the diet quality that is the huge impact. And so we choose the best ingredients with the best nutritional profiles. And guess what? Those ingredients are expensive. We try very hard to make these as affordable as possible. We've taken away many of the layers that add costs by selling directly to people online. In comparison, there is a really high cost to poor diet, right? Both physically, emotionally, and financially. There is a cost to being sick. So you might be hearing all of this and thinking, this is overwhelming, right? Like big pharma, big food, big medicine, big cost, trillions of dollars. It just feels abstract and frankly unfixable. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. On an individual basis, we can each have an impact. And just think about your own health. If you look after your own health, and everybody does that, it's a ripple effect that will impact pharma, it will impact food, it would impact medicine, it will impact the trillions of dollars. But ultimately, the reward is yours. The reward is yours because you're healthier, you're less dependent on all those medications, and most importantly, you feel better. I always talk about how much power we have over our own health. We actually have a lot of power over the environment we are presented. If we change the way we spend our money, there's a lot of industries that will notice. If tomorrow you stop buying packaged cereal and instead buy oats, guess what? The packaged cereal companies are going to take notice, especially if all of us do it. And guess what they'll make for you? Oats. They will actually give you oats because that is what you want, that is what you're buying. And they will give you oats that taste good, that are better for you, because that is what you're choosing. As we make better food choices, not only are we impacting our own health, we are also impacting our food environment. And we are sending a message to food manufacturers about what it is that we want. So don't underestimate the power you have to make a change. I'm often asked, what does a physician have to gain from reducing medical spending? What I would tell you, actually, and kind of cynically, not much. And that's horrible because we are not in many ways incented to keep you healthy. The entire medical field runs on disease. Now that is changing, and it should change. I mean, we should be actually paid to keep you healthy and not to keep treating you because you are ill. So you might be wondering, why did I start making food? I'm a cardiologist, right? And actually, cardiologists get paid really, really well. To do what I did and start a food company, I took a giant financial step backwards. And say, like, why? Well, because I honestly did not go into medicine to just manage disease. I went into medicine to cure disease. And I wasn't curing disease as a cardiologist, even though I was prescribing pills, doing tests, doing all the things I was taught to do. I wasn't curing anybody. This is my attempt to cure.